up a chair while I just show you how terrible this trash problem is. I mean, we've got dining room sets, a table left here in the desert to rot. Walk down the strip tonight and you'll notice a lot of people aren't wearing one of these. Very active scene right here. And as you mentioned, that shooter still on the run, according to officers. Police say the father of his children found their lifeless bodies in their home right there. And so many in the community are shocked by this horrible crime. This is the fourth fatal officer-involved shooting for Metro this year. The wind out here still howling. In fact, earlier today, there was a pole right here in this intersection that remained there for hours. This is such a joy and relief for so many people, the performers, employees, and all of you watching at home right now who depend on what's here behind me. Imagine this empty strip, lines of people finally watching the Bellagio fountain go off for the first time since mid-March. We're up 17% when it comes to road fatalities this year compared to last, and in a short amount of time. Public records show Adolfo's company sold the Economy Motel here on June 3rd. Then, just a few weeks later, public records show the Casablanca Hotel was sold to COVID-19 patients. But Dr. Assad tells me this surge is different than the ones she's seen in the past. For residents at the Ensemble complex in the South Valley, the past few days have been
sort of like a yo-yo, up and down, not knowing when the water's coming back on.
Since last Wednesday, their water and heat has intermittently been shut off.
We need water, we need heat, you know?
67-year-old Navy veteran Santo Capantari.
And it's unacceptable.
Even put his military skills to use.
Well, you sponge bathe, you know, like your face, your hands, what's exposed, and you try to keep it on the stove. At least you could warm up a little water.
One woman,
That was alarming to me.
whose mother lives in the apartment, didn't want to show her face, but is still furious.
It's completely unacceptable that it would take them that long for elderly people to be without water to wash their hands and flush the toilet.
We wanted to know why it took so long, too. Hello, this is Lauren. After several calls, we finally heard from those in charge. Ovation Property Management declined an on-camera interview, but sent over a statement saying in part it cares deeply for their residents and explained complications from last week's weather caused what should have been a few-hour shutdown to span a week. We asked via email specifically what could be done in the future to prevent this from happening. They responded, unfortunately, the building design is what it is, adding it was a perfect storm of the worst possible weather conditions. But residents and their loved ones argue,
At the very least, after a day, someone should have delivered water, should have done something.
more could have been done.
They can't control the weather, they can't control the timing of it, but in the future it has to be handled differently.
And the property management company also told us they provided space heaters and offered showers at adjacent buildings, but most of the residents I spoke to today say they weren't informed of either option. Anthony Locasio calls Cammy Bird a special soul.
She was fearless.
Fearless, kind, and so funny, he says, that she'd break out in song and dance in the grocery store.
A song would come on, and next thing I know, she's dancing with, an asparagus or something.
Like Anthony, the 37-year-old was a car dealer. She found her way to Las Vegas after growing up in the Pacific Northwest. The moment he met Cammy Bird,
It was instant, just an instant connection.
he knew they'd be best friends for life.
Cammy was just one of those people, one of those forever people.
But their forever friendship came to a tragic end.
It's scary.
Around midnight on September 16th, 2020, Bird died doing something nearly all of us do every day, driving home from work on the I-15. It wasn't a crash or medical episode that killed her. It was a bullet to the head.
Here we are a year later, and we don't have answers.
Metro Homicide Lieutenant Ray Spencer says it's a haunting crime.
We have, done every investigative step possible trying to bring justice to her family and do anything that we can, and we're just still back at square one on this case.
Detectives pulled dozens of surveillance videos of that night.
She had gotten an early out from work. She had left work, got on the freeway, and was driving southbound on I-15.
Piecing together her every moment.
She got on the off-ramp to get off at Flamingo.
Except for this one.
When someone fired from a vehicle that we believe was also traveling southbound on I-15.
You see Camiai's car stop, but not the gunfire.
It's a very difficult and challenging case.
You see part of the problem. It's hard to make out cars at night going more than 80 miles per hour.
If this occurred at 12 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm confident the suspect would have been caught the next day.
The second issue, says Lieutenant Spencer, the timing.
Is there a delay in her reaction from the time she's shot until she breaks? And that 1 to 2 second difference could mean, several different vehicles that could potentially be involved.
Investigators went out with stopwatches and speed estimates, but still can't say for certain which car the bullet came from. They've even pulled video from NHP patrol car nearby and a city bus.
If the bus was traveling 10 seconds slower, we would have the suspect vehicle.
He says they've ruled out the possibility of someone following her.
There's no potential suspect that we can identify. We don't believe there's any link between her and the suspect that makes this case very difficult.
That's why this detective
We just need help.
is pleading for leads.
Someone's got to help us on this case.
As for Anthony,
It's been over a year now, and it's that realization that's going to sink in that there's a possibility that they'll never find that guy.
he begs that person out there who knows something to come forward.
To give us justice so that this poor girl could rest in peace.
For 30 years, we've enjoyed this park.
Neighbor Tony D.
We like the park. We love the park.
says Paradise Park was paradise.
That's one of the reasons why we bought our house is because of the park.
But now,
We avoid the park.
he says Paradise is lost amongst all the garbage,
Trash is piling up,
drug paraphernalia,
needles and razor blades all over the place.
weapons,
I found a couple of knives out here in the past with illegal length blades up to 10 inches.
even human feces.
I pulled into the parking lot here. The guy was defecating right there.
Aside from all that, he says neglect
Playground around us is in desperate need of resurfacing, and it's just getting worse.
is causing parts of the park to crumble.
The decay of what's going on. I showed you the cement over there.
Neighbor Chuck Wood
The park is deteriorated and decayed drastically.
even says he was threatened
I'm going to shoot you and I'm going to shoot your dog.
while walking his dog.
And he opened up his trunk and we saw him unzip his gym bag and he reached in. We saw him cock his gun.
Making many
I don't think anyone feels safe enough anymore.
fear for their safety.
You shouldn't have to put up with that in a public park. You should be able to feel safe here, especially children.
As a taxpayer, it angers me a little bit. We demand that something be done about it.
Demands we took to County Commissioner Tick Sagerbloom, who represents this district.
It's an ongoing problem with inner city parks.
He said he's heard of the problems at Paradise before,
I apologize to the people profusely.
but admits
We do the best we can do, but we can always do better, but we need your help.
something neighbor Chuck
Things need to change
says he's glad to do.
because the taxpayers are fed